It's almost!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Hi, welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. On the show today, Pakistan seems to have won one small battle after their request to the ICC to intervene. The BCCI has come out saying they will adhere to the rules regarding the jersey. But the next big headache, Indian skipper Rohit Sharma's travel to Pakistan for the pre-tournament captains event. Will he, won't he? What are the different parameters involved here? And what is Pakistan's security situation looking like for this? Meanwhile, Kylian Mbappe is back in the news and not for the right reasons. Neymar has accused the young star of being jealous of Lionel Messi, taking us back to the PSG stint that spelled out horror for Mbappe, particularly over a major portion of the last year. Mbappe has hit back in response. Was it truly a clash of egos that meant more than brotherhood? And Afghanistan male cricketers are being accused of being silent, making them cohorts in Taliban's rigid and regressive methods of ending women sports. What is the reason, and will they voice their stand? All of that heading your way, but first a look at the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with cricket, India beat England by 7 wickets in the first of the 5-match T20 series. Put into bat first, England were bowled out for 132, with Varun Chakravarti picking up 3 wickets. In response, opener Abhishek Sharma stole the show, smashing 79 of 34 balls. This was India's 7th consecutive T20 win under head coach Gautam Gambhir. Meanwhile, Ranji Trophy returns for India's superstars turned into a bit of a nightmare. Playing for Mumbai against Jammu and Kashmir, the skipper got out for 3 runs. Yashasvi Jaiswal, his opening partner, was dismissed for 4. In the Punjab versus Karnataka game, Shubman Gill was dismissed for single-digit score 2. And Rishabh Pant, who was making a rare appearance for Delhi after 7 years, fell cheaply for 1 run. On to football, Paris Saint Germain hammered Manchester City 4-2 in the Champions League. Despite leading 2-0 until the 56th minute, PSG found the net 4 times in the span of half an hour. With 3 losses in 7 matches, Pep Guardiola's side is just 1 loss away from a tournament exit. Real Madrid became the first football team to generate revenue of $1 billion in a single season. The Spanish giants generated $1.04 billion in the year 23-24. The report also suggests that the top 20 clubs made a record $11.6 billion in the 23-24 season from matchday tickets, broadcast and commercial revenues. On to tennis, world number 1 Jannik Sinner continued his Australian Open title defence. The Italian entered the semi-finals after a straight-set win over Alex de Minaur. Sinner will now face Ben Shelton. And summing it up with news from chess, Gukesh Domaraju, the dethroned compatriot Arjun Erigesi to become India's highest-ranked chess player. Gukesh, after securing his 2nd win at the Tata Steel tournament, took his rating points to 2,784, moving to 4th spot in the live ratings. Erigesi, with 2,779, slipped to 5th. Pakistan seems to have got some respite in the tussle between them and India. One of the many more, of course, to come in the days leading up to the ICC Champions Trophy. India will sport the jerseys in keeping with the ICC rules. Earlier this week, talks emerged of India not wanting to sport Pakistan as host country under the Champions Trophy logo on their jerseys, as they were not playing their games in Pakistan. India's matches, including the knockout ones, if they make it, of course, will be held in Dubai. PCB was, of course, livid. They accused India of politicizing cricket, went to the ICC crying foul. The ICC some days ago came out with a stern message that every single team involved in this tournament had to abide by the conditions stipulated when it comes to jersey design. No geopolitical tension will replace an ICC tradition, however sensitive the matter. And the first real action of the newly appointed BCCI secretary has been to assert and officially tell us that India will, in fact, stick to ICC principles and wear a team jersey that is in keeping with the rules. Have the name of the host country, Pakistan, printed on the Indian team jersey.
BCCI will follow every uniform-related ICC rule during Champions Trophy. Whatever the other teams will do regarding the logo and dress code, we are going to follow in true letter and spirit.
One can imagine the predicament the new BCCI secretary Devajit Saikia finds himself in. His first major challenge, of course, will be to ensure that India's campaign at the Champions Trophy goes smoothly without any snags or much controversy. That's a tough ask. That's proving to be an already difficult challenge. The two countries have been on opposite ends regarding various matters already. Another one brewing, of course, is Captain Rohit Sharma's travel to Pakistan for a pre-tournament event. There is still uncertainty regarding this, given what the secretary had to say as well.
Whether Rohit Sharma travels to Pakistan for ICC media engagements is something that's still not decided. We will discuss it in due course and decide accordingly.
Of course, the skipper today had many other problems on his mind. Turning up for a domestic game after nearly a decade, he was finding it a little difficult to negotiate the deliveries during Mumbai's match against Jammu and Kashmir in Mumbai. Getting out in single-digit score, BCCI and the Indian government, though, as we know, are highly hesitant in giving the green light for this move. And they have a precedence to fall back onto. There was no proper captain's event before the T20 World Cup that took place last year in USA and West Indies. Of course, the reason for that was more of a logistical problem. It was tough to get a proper time and schedule which would have suited all the captains, because the warm-up games that the different teams were involved in were scheduled across the different countries. Here, the reservation comes from a different reason entirely. Security is, of course, top concern. So what does Pakistan promise in terms of security for the ICC event? Well, at least 17,000 personnel will be deployed across the three venues that's hosting the tournament and the games throughout ICC Champions Trophy: Karachi, Lahore and Rawalpindi. Punjab government could also provide round-the-clock security to the 6 teams that would be travelling through the hotel and the stadiums. These will, of course, amount to around 12,500 personnel. Let's get into a breakdown of the stadiums. When we're speaking, 7,500 security officers, including commandos, will be deployed to secure Lahore Stadium. That's the key venue. 4,500 officers will stand guard at Rawalpindi. Snipers and aerial monitoring will also be done during the tournament, is what we're hearing. Paramilitary rangers will be involved in the security detail. But what about Karachi? Officials say more than 5,000 security officers will be deployed, including Sindh Police, that will also take charge at the venue. But security is not the primary concern, or not just the concern. The phrase "love thy neighbour" is far from applicable here. There has not been an Indian cricketer who has stepped foot in Pakistan for decades now. The last time anyone connected with the Indian cricket went over to Pakistan were board members Roger Binney and Rajiv Shukla. This was in 2023, and it was for an official PCB dinner during the Asia Cup. So will India really be keen to rewrite history now, when the situation between the two countries isn't any better? Your guess is as good as mine. It's been close to 6 months since Kylian Mbappe played his first match for Real Madrid, and while Mbappe is slowly getting used to his new life in Spain, his past continues to haunt him. The drama from Mbappe's Paris Saint Germain is not over just yet. First, it was the legal battle over his unpaid dues. Now it is Mbappe being accused of being jealous of his former teammate Lionel Messi. And the claim has come from somebody who was an integral part of the PSG lineup. In fact, someone who was very close to Mbappe himself. Brazilian forward Neymar has opened some old wounds from his time in PSG. Neymar claimed that while the pair were playing together at the club, he got on well with Mbappe until Lionel Messi arrived.
I have my thing with him. We had a little fight, but he was fundamental for us. I used to call him Golden Boy. We had some good years of partnership. But after Messi came, he was a little jealous. He didn't want to split me with anyone. And then there were some fights, a change in behavior.
That's quite a bold accusation. The trio spent 2 years together at PSG. They didn't quite click as much as the football world would have wanted them to or hoped them they would. Early Champions League exit and a league title lost to Lille left the management very unhappy. They were expected to create the same magic which MNS, Messi, Neymar and Suarez achieved at Barcelona, but the results were far from that. And now we know the reason. Maybe the magic was missing because the connection just wasn't quite there. The shots, though, haven't been fired only from one end. Mbappe, too, has hit back at Neymar over these accusations.
I have nothing to say. I'm very concentrated on what I'm doing here in Madrid. I could talk many times about Neymar, but I want to remember the positives of a unique footballer in the history of football and all the moments we had in Paris.
And while Mbappe didn't address the matter, he didn't really quite deny the allegations either, which tells us that the big money splurge to bring these players together was indeed a failure, as was seen during their PSG stint together as well. Despite being a lethal combination, the spark just wasn't there. And maybe it was the egos, too big to adjust.
It is good to have egos, but you have to know that you don't play alone. There needs to be another guy by your side. Egos were almost everywhere. It can't work if nobody runs and nobody helps. It is impossible to win anything.
And while Neymar's claims have indicated a rift between Mbappe and Messi, it also points to a fallout that Neymar and Mbappe themselves had. Because before Messi's arrival, the two were inseparable. They weren't just teammates or footballers playing in the same lineup. The chemistry between these two was there, and not just on the field. And from that, they went to this. The Messi experiment clearly failed for PSG, and it served as a massive example for the rest of the world too. Don't try to fix what isn't broken. Sure, Messi's arrival is huge for any franchise, any team, and everyone in the world would want to have someone like him in their side. But before Messi joined, PSG had reached a Champions League final. Neymar and Mbappe were winning league titles for PSG, and Messi's arrival meant there were more egos in one single dressing room. A Brazilian maestro in Neymar, arguably the best in the world, Lionel Messi, and a rising young star in Kylian Mbappe, whose idol has been Cristiano Ronaldo. Three big guns in their own separate ways, but of course, just not good enough together. The Champions Trophy is a little under a month away, and the number of feuds continue to hog the limelight. Sections of the cricket world have been urging their cricketing boards to boycott Afghanistan due to Taliban's rigid anti-women rights. But the latest comes from the Afghanistan women cricketers themselves. The disbarred women cricketers have questioned their male counterparts for not backing them. They've blamed the men for not standing up for women's cricket in the country. The silence from the men's team is deafening, with the growing resentment against Afghanistan cricket as well. When will the superstars come out of hibernation? A report.
When the Champions Trophy kickstarts in Pakistan and Dubai, all eyes will be on Afghanistan. Not because of their historic debut in the tournament or their cricketing brilliance over the past few years, but because of the growing anger against them. Lots of other countries like England and South Africa have already questioned the Taliban's regressive regime in the country. And joining the voices now are disbarred Afghan women cricketers. the women of Afghanistan are questioning the lack of support from their male counterparts. Afghanistan national players, please be the voice of the girls at the moment. Please do more for us. Start doing something for women. They are the most famous people at the moment. They can be the voice of millions and millions of girls. Ever since Taliban gained control in 2021, the state of women's rights have been questionable. The most basic of freedoms has been taken away from the women in the country. The right to study, work out in the gym, speak in public, or even work in private sectors have been scrapped or amended. The last straw was banning women from medical education. And while the women in the nation had to accept their fate due to the several restrictions, the ones who managed to flee the country have been enraged and raising their voice against the Taliban. Even their first ever woman Olympian wanted Afghanistan banned from the Olympics.
My participation at the Olympic was a sports revolution for Afghan women, girls. To me, it feels like whatever I did to support women's rights, gender equality, women's rights to sport back in 2004, it is all undone by the IOC and by the Taliban and people who tolerate the Taliban. The IOC will set a precedent that being a terrorist group is okay. You can violate, you can stone people to death, but you can still participate at the Olympics.
Now the women athletes want the most popular male athletes, the cricketers, to stand up. While the superstars did speak out for the first time on the issue of education being taken away from women, there has been radio silence from these superstars otherwise. No mention of women's cricket or women's sports in general. Not once have they talked about the state of women's cricket in the country. The lack of support has forced cricketers like Firuza Amiri to flee Afghanistan and settle in Australia, where she's playing club cricket. Many of the Afghan women's cricketers, in fact, have been contracted with Australia's cricket board. In 2020, they even wrote to the ICC asking for help to set up a team in Australia. While the women's unit is struggling to get recognition, the men's side is only growing in stature, beating top teams the world over, qualifying for the semi-finals of the 2024 T20 World Cup. These are the contrasting faces of one sport in the country, which is the reason for such resentment against Afghan cricket. Australia has refused playing any bilateral series against them. England and South Africa politicians want their sides to take a stance against Afghanistan in the Champions Trophy. They even demanded ICC to take action against the country. And even after all this, the question is, why have the Afghanistan male cricketers remained silent? Maybe the fear of the Taliban has been way too much for them. I know that there were always some challenges for them as well. Some of their families are still in Afghanistan. We don't want you to be in danger. Sports has often served as a vehicle to tear down walls. Nobody understands this better than the men's team. They changed the landscape of how Afghanistan would be perceived as a cricketing nation. They rose from a war-torn nation to challenge the most established cricketing sides. Shouldn't they stand up for their women cricketers to bring a change? So who will take the first step here to bring change? The Afghani male cricketers themselves or the all-seeing governing body for the sport, the ICC?
Time for last serve. Lewis Hamilton took out his Ferrari for a spin in Maranello, Italy, and attracted quite a gathering. A big crowd just came in to watch him test drive. Here's a sneak peek of the new man in red. Gave me quite the goosebumps. But that wraps up First Sports here. I'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on First Post.